You want answers?
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
You want answers?
You have offended my family.
I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth.
And you have offended the Shaolin Temple.
You can't handle the truth.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Radical Rant.
The New York Times has weighed in on religion and cannabis in a story they call Marijuana-Infused Faith Challenges the Definition of Religion. And they open up by talking about 64-year-old Roger Christie. We've talked about Roger Christie on the show before. He's a minister of the Universal Life Church, the Church of the Universe in Canada, and the Oklavueha, and I'm murdering that name, I'm sure. I can't even say it. The Native American Church of Hilo, Hawaii, and most importantly, the founder of the Hawaii Cannabis THC Ministry. Back in 2010, Roger Christie, of course, was arrested along with several others from the THC Ministry, including conspiracy to manufacture, conspiracy to distribute, and Roger Christie doesn't dispute this because he was giving it away as sacrament at his church. And from his email, he says he's a real street ministry serving the needs of our neighbors from all walks of life. And coming up on July 29th, Roger's lawyer is arguing in Hawaii federal court that he should be allowed to present a religious freedom defense at the eventual criminal trial. And the New York Times writes, he will base his argument on the Religious Freedom Restoration Act passed by Congress in 1993, which requires the government to show a compelling interest whenever it substantially burdens a religious practice. And those are two very key phrases, compelling interest and substantially burdens. Now, because of this act, in 2006, the Supreme Court ruled that a New Mexico church was allowed to use ayahuasca. And that's a very potent hallucinogen for sacramental purposes. It's a cactus, I believe, so some form of a cactus hallucinogen. And another church, and it's not listed in the New York Times. American Indians' use of peyote. That's another one that's been ruled. That peyote's the cactus. Ayahuasca, it's like a tea off a leaf, I think. But anyway, doesn't matter. Both very, very, very potent hallucinogens, okay? But marijuana, when we have religions like Rastafari, we have the religions that Coptic Christians and the THC Ministry in this case that claim marijuana as a sacrament, that's where it's run into problems and so far been shot down in most, in all the court cases I'm aware of. So far, and they interview, this is the New York Times interviewing Douglas Laycock, who's a constitutional law professor at University of Virginia. He says, quote, the difference is that peyote and ayahuasca have little or no recreational market. And that is not likely to change because they make you sick before they make you high. And that's true. You take ayahuasca or peyote and you will retch. You will puke your guts out. And after that, you will trip your balls off. And so that's generally why they're part of ceremonies and very religious purposes, because it's like a cleansing or a purging, if you will. And marijuana, he says, this is Laycock speaking, marijuana has a huge recreational market. Diversion from religious to recreational uses and false claims of religious use would be major problems, end quote. And this is where those two phrases come in. Substantially burdens. Well, that's if you say a religion can't use a sacrament, you are substantially burdening that religion, right? Now, we can see a substantial burden on saying, Satanists can't perform virgin sacrifices. Okay, that's a substantial burden, but obviously we can't have religions sacrificing virgins. I mean, we have too few as it is, right? Sorry. But the problem here is the compelling interest. And that's the part that's winning. In this test of substantial burden versus compelling interest, the compelling interest of the government is the Controlled Substances Act. Is being able to say you can't use that drug. And if suddenly marijuana is a religious sacrament, suddenly there's 26 million really religious people in this country. You know what I'm saying? That's the government's side of it. That's their compelling interest. But really, in actuality, what it comes down to is cops not being able to bust stoners. Because it's not as if 26 million marijuana smokers are going to immediately declare themselves members of certain religions. Some of us that are hardcore smokers, or people that believed it in the first place, are going to sign up and get their card. But what's going to happen is when someone gets busted, they're going to run out and get their card. They're going to suddenly believe, and then it's going to be so much more difficult for the government to try to prosecute in that case. So that's what they're talking about here, is why so far they're trying to use Religious Freedom Restoration Act for cannabis is a problem. And what it really boils down to is your sacrament is A, too popular, and B, too mild. If you're allowing peyote and ayahuasca because they make you puke before you trip, there's not enough. Your sacrament's too mild, man. It's not really causing people actually like to use it. They like to use it on a regular basis, even when they're not, at church. So that's a problem. Too popular and too mild. So with Roger Christie here, the way, of course, he bases this, and this is the ultimate irony in the whole damn thing. You hear it all the time in America from people of this belief that America is a Christian nation, despite the Treaty of Tripoli. They think it's a Christian nation founded on Judeo-Christian principles, despite many of our founding fathers being atheists or deists. But anyway, they think it's a Christian nation, right? And if you flip to the very first page of their book, you will find Genesis 1:29. Then God said, I give you every seed-bearing plant. For you it shall be as food. Right there, page 1 of what this entire country supposedly is based on. And that's what he's basing his religion on. That's what he's based. And so this ends with the writer here from New York Times pointing out that Mr. Christie's case raises difficult, important questions. If only old or popular religions are protected, what would the First Amendment mean? If almost any belief system were a religion, then what would that mean? And this is where the Roger Christie case opens up a lot of questions about what we believe in this country and what we believe religious liberty is. And is it a religion if only 12 people practice it? Is it deserving of First Amendment protections if it was just invented yesterday? I tend to have a very liberal view of the Constitution. You may have found that out in my previous rants, but I think freedom of religion is a broader thing than just a specific building with a specific book and a specific set of rights. I think religion is a broad term that actually means freedom of thought, freedom of belief, to believe and to be and to express what you are. And in the context of the First Amendment having protections for speech and assembly and petitioning the government and all of those, in that context, I see the freedom of religion being far broader than just what book you're reading or what name is on the plate or what funny hat the minister wears. I think it has to do with what we believe inside. And if you believe cannabis is helping you and it's not harming people around you, then it's none of the government's damn business, is it? That's what the First Amendment means. That's what America means. The freedom to be who we are, to express who we are, so long as we do not harm others, to have robust debates, to have disagreements even, but finding a way to live together and get along, people of many cultures and creeds and beliefs and religions and colors and economic backgrounds. And we're not good at it yet, but the whole point is a more perfect union. Not perfect yet. I got a long way to go. You and I, we're all going to get this done together. Part of this is ending this stupid war on marijuana. Thanks for joining us here at the Russ Belville Show. We'll be here every day, every weekday, that is, when we're not traveling or on vacation. But we'll be here fighting as much as we can, and thanks for joining us. Thanks for supporting us. Become a VIP. Help us pay the bills. For Brian the Red, I'm Radical Russ. Thanks for joining us. And until next time, take care of each other, tokers.